welcome back to our non-toxic podcast. I'm Bree.
And I'm Hannah.
And I'm living, everyone.
Cue the applause. If we had a soundboard, I'd be pressing the button right now. Yay, Bree's back.
Hannah just informed me it's been since Christmas.
Yeah. We had an episode right before Christmas that
I
came
remember
out.
I wore a red sweater.
And I had fits with that episode because for some reason the file got corrupted.
That's
if you remember that. I spent so much time. And then
I was like, you
no,
did?
no,
You didn't even tell me this.
I spent so much time.
I'm like, I would have covered that.
No. I was like trying everything to try and troubleshoot it and figure out why this one file happened to get corrupted.
I remember that,
And
yeah.
I recovered 30 minutes of like the hour. So if you watch it on YouTube, it's 30 minutes and then it like unsyncs halfway through. Drove me insane, but our outfits were too cute to pass up. So I had to post anyways.
So true. Mm-hmm. We had like I can remember, isn't it funny? I'm like, oh, I remember the episode because I know what I was wearing.
Mm-hmm. Do you know what we said?
Heck no.
No, I have no idea.
I forget what we say once I walk out this door.
It's amazing you make it that long because I don't even know if I do.
I don't know.
So since Christmas,
I've had a kind of a crazy life. Hence while I've been gone and Hannah's just been holding down the fort.
I've been missing you so much. Last episode that I recorded by myself, I was seriously like, I had to rally myself. I complained on the podcast as you do. And I was like, I just didn't have the energy to like bring it. You know?
No, I get that.
And it's so much more fun with you here. And I like to just talk in general, but when you're here, it's just better.
It's like easy talk too.
It's so much more fun. I had to like psych myself up. I was listening to music in the car and I was like, get fired up.
Yeah.
I'm so happy you're here.
I'm actually really excited to be here and like talking again. I feel like I was just like explaining to Hannah this before we started, but I was like, I feel like this is my most real form of social media, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Like everything else, I saw this TikTok, I watched the news, and this girl was like, this is all fake. All of it's fake. And I was like, you know what? And she's like, and I make a living off of this. And I was like, wow. But she's kind of right. Like everything is just like what we're putting out there, which for me is, and I feel like for you, like artsy and fun.
Yeah.
So it's so nice. But like this is the most authentic. We get to speak our mind. Like people are like, oh, that's who Brie and Hannah are.
And I would say things on here that I would never post on like Instagram or on my story or anything. Sure. And I'll post stupid things online, but there are some things that are so personal that I just don't want to share.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel as much like asking for attention because if someone's listening to this, like surely they want to know what's going on. Yeah. Right? That's what I tell myself.
Or like they have an option, or they can be like, I don't want to listen to this. Goodbye, Hannah and Brie.
Exactly.
And that's so fabulous.
So I get uncomfortable sharing a lot of emotions on my story or something. But if we're talking here, I'm like, let's get deep. Let's get into it. Yeah. Here's why I cried today.
Yeah.
And
which I love.
It feels normal, but it is nice.
And you just feel like a human. Like you're just like, this is just who I am. And I also feel like people get to know us better.
Yeah, I agree.
Like I feel like there's so much more depth than what we post on social media, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
because it is a fun outlet to post on socials and make everything look beautiful and fun
curated,
and trendy. Because it's fun. And you also get to look back at your life and kind of romanticize it through your own lens.
Absolutely.
But is it always real? No.
Probably not.
No,
it's like the highlight, truly.
Yeah.
But basically Christmas was great. My kids are at an age where they're getting really fun. It's so stinking cute.
So cute.
I know. And like the Christmas season, just like making cookies, making little Santa watchers. Like it was like top tier parenting moment. And again, they still woke up and were like uninvested in everything Santa brought them. They're like,
Santa who?
Yeah, exactly. They're like, oh, cool. This trampoline, don't care. 2 seconds later, like that's just
They're like,
kids.
give me the box actually.
But I will say like Collins, because she's my almost 3-year-old, she was really into it. And still this week she's like, Christmas over? And I'm like, oh my gosh, you loved it so much, which I loved it growing up. So that's been special. New Year's, I'm like, what did I even do? Oh, we went to a friend's, like close friends, and we all like made dinner together, let our little babies play, and then we left early.
Yeah.
We were in bed.
Ideal.
Bed by 11.
I love that.
Eating popcorn. Got my little New Year's kiss and went to sleep.
I love that. You made a cute reel too. I caught up on that when I got back.
I know.
It was adorable.
Someone was like, Brie, I'm living for this content. I'm like, I've just been feeling inspired lately. So I was creating a lot of content. Things have drastically changed, as a lot of you know. But and then I went to Mexico on a retreat, and it was quite literally the greatest thing ever. I was so sad to have to leave early, and I will like connect dots for people. But I went to Tlaquepaque, which is actually the sister city for Springfield, Missouri in our like commerce, like Chamber of Commerce. So like people there knew what Springfield, Missouri was, which felt so weird. Isn't that crazy?
That is odd.
But it did feel very safe. it's kind of like middle of Mexico, which I know sometimes people are like, oh my gosh, but it was very safe. It was the most relaxing. Like it took me a day to even adjust to the quiet, like the
pace
lack
of everything.
stimulation.
Right.
But it was so fabulous. Like we did yoga, we did some like coaching. My business coach and life coach, Maddie Miller, put the whole thing on. And a lot of people were like, what are you doing? Like, where are you going? And
why are you in Mexico?
Yeah, why are you going to middle
like,
of
I'm
Mexico?
joining the cartel.
Yeah.
Thanks for asking.
See you guys. Bye. And no, it was just so fabulous. It was so relaxed. Got to be with other like business owners and then just some other moms. And it was just so fun to connect. However, that trip was very short lived because that is when I got the call that my dad was declining. I feel like a lot of our listeners know my dad was diagnosed with ALS, and he initially, the physicians were thinking like 14 months once they made that final diagnosis, which would have been my 30th birthday. So I was like truly beyond grateful that I made it to 30. Like that was a huge thing for me, like so much more than just like, oh, I turned 30. Like I have been terrified for the last year and a half that like I wouldn't get to be 30 and like have my dad here.
And I think a lot of people probably didn't realize that's something you were carrying every day. Like waiting for a phone call for a year.
Terrifying. I mean, and just, I had a really hard year and I did make that reel that kind of talked about that. But like last year was a huge growth year and also one of the hardest years of my living so far because I have little humans that depend on me too, and like a marriage and
a
business and a mortgage and all those things. And I kept remembering, like I really struggled, like finding out my dad was diagnosed, like really sunk me. And a lot of people don't know that because again, social media, everything looks so great in my life. And all that to say, so like recap, basically I got a call and they were like, hey, dad suddenly, like his breathing's not great. And we'll keep you updated. This was Friday night. And I was like, okay, like, should I leave? And they're like, no, we'll keep you updated. Like, we think he's going to just get to go back home. Saturday morning, I had been awake for like maybe an hour, just FaceTime my kids and got a call. And they were like, you need to get here like now. So I, like the scene of a movie, frantically started throwing my shit in a suitcase and just was like, I have to go. Like thankfully I was surrounded by the best group of women. Of course, when shit hits the fan, like everything, like when it rains, it pours. My phone wasn't getting service. Like I couldn't get on the stupid app to book my flight. I had 3 other women standing around me being like, here, I found this one. Here's this one. This one leaves in 2 hours. And I was like, book it. And they just like were so incredible. Maddie's like, I already got my driver coming to get you so that like you feel safe, like going back to the airport with someone you've already been with. So in the span of 2 hours, I was waiting to board a flight to go back to Florida. And I will say I really felt like God was on my side because travel wise, like I literally made it from Mexico to Texas, got through customs to Orlando before even my husband or 2 brothers could make it there from Missouri. So like my travel was seamless.
Blessed for sure.
Truly feel like God was like, I got you. I'm going to get you there. And my dad like knew I was there. All of that was great. Once my brothers got there, like the next day he was so peaceful. Like we just kept saying like he knows we're all here because he was just resting so well. But ALS, it kind of hit a point, and I have done this a million times being an ICU nurse, but like you hit a point where you're like, we have no choice. And like my dad knew it was happening the whole time. Like he was ready. He made peace with it. Like, and he passed on the 14th, which is my anniversary for SkinWise.
Wow.
And so I was telling Alex, like at first I was kind of like, oh my gosh, every day that SkinWise turns another year, I'm going to have to think about
that reminder.
But I also really reframed my narrative on that because my dad owned his own business. And I was like, holy smokes, like I felt like I could do this because my dad had done it.
Yeah.
And I would call him all the time, like, what do you think about this? Or how should I handle this business conversation? Or what would you do? And I'm like, a part of me feels like that's a God wink of like, hey, he's with you all the time.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, I don't know. So Hannah and I talked and I was like, I definitely, like, I have so much more I'm feeling and want to say about that situation. I'm just not like ready yet, mentally and all of that. And in full transparency, I'm still kind of like in the numb phase. Yeah. Like I've been so business because I had to help with a funeral and like get back to work and take care of my kids. And
everyone knows the oldest sister is the backbone.
Yeah.
Anyways.
And I'm not there yet. I do want to talk about it because there's so much on my heart and like so much I want to share, but now is just like not the right opportunity to get too deep into that. And I don't think I'm like mentally stable, but I know a lot of people are going through a lot of stuff right now.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that we just said like how crummy that we are connecting so much, even more than we've always have.
I know.
Because we're sitting in
bonding
grief.
Over grief.
But I think the biggest thing, you know, someone asked me, it's like, how are you like living? And I'm like, I don't know. And frankly, like, I kind of feel like a fraud. Like I'm showing up, but like Bree is still really
like half
sad.
Of you.
Yeah. Like I am not okay. But like, I don't know my other option.
Just sit at home and be sad.
Yeah.
And your kids don't deserve that, you know, and you don't deserve that. And it's one of the things that we've continued to go back on whenever we talk about my experience and then now Bree's experience. And there comes a point after you have a huge emotional hit and a big loss that you have to return to life. You know, you can take some time off if you're fortunate, like we both were, to, you know, take a step back from business for a week or so. And things just don't wait forever. Like the world moves on, and people have been so kind to both of us in showing love and showing support and everything. But at some point, everyone goes back to their lives and everyone goes back to work, and then something happens, you know, to somebody else, and then people's focus gets shifted. And it's not that you need the attention or anything, but it almost feels like the world moves on without you.
Yeah.
And you're just not ready to move yet.
Oh, 100%. And the weirdest, so again, back to social media, but this is kind of what rules our life. And honestly, I run a business off of it.
Right.
And like quick pause to say that like my team at Skinwise, I literally can cry when I think about it too much. Like they took care of absolutely everything for me. I was 100% checked out for a week. And I kind of was like, I don't care. Like I've got other things I've got to get done. And they literally were incredible. I just love them. They're the biggest blessing to my business. But I really, really, and I still am, like I'm struggling to get on social media because in that moment and in that week of literal hell, it was like so difficult to see everyone else just living life.
Yeah.
And it's not that I'm like, honestly, feeling happy for people is very comforting
it's
right
the
now.
Hardest thing.
But I also am just like, y'all just posting about your dinner while my dad just died yesterday. Like, and I know that sounds so blunt, but it's like such a I couldn't even get on and look. Like it took me forever to post. And then even when I posted that about my dad, I like posted it and got off because I was like, I can't stand looking at everyone right now.
And seeing life go on when it feels like your world just stopped.
Yeah. I'm like, to me, like I am, like you just like, how is everyone else just living? But you have to remember like,
it didn't happen to them.
And this happens to people every day, right? Like,
and we are the ones posting.
Yeah, to the saying, like, you don't know what the heck someone's going through.
Yeah. Well, I've said this to you off mic, but nothing will ever compare to losing a parent like that. But the same feeling was true in my situation where whenever you get online and like I'm still going through all the emotions, all the physical symptoms, everything.
Yeah.
And you get online and you see like a makeup tutorial and then a trend and like a lip sync video and everything just feels like you get so angry.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I didn't think I would have ever guessed is that in my grief, it was so much anger.
Yeah.
And I still feel that to an extent, but I'm also, you know, almost 2 months removed from my feelings and it comes in waves, which we'll talk about at length another time, but it feels like you get online and I don't wish anyone else to go through what I'm going through, but at the same time, you're angry that they're not.
Yeah.
But you would never say that because it feels like such an ugly, hateful thing to say and to feel.
No, I think, absolutely.
But then you get online and you're like, how dare you just be going to get a coffee and going to work out and living your life when like my whole world just came crashing down.
Yeah.
And then you almost envy them, or at least I envy them.
Absolutely.
Because I want to go back to that blissful, like, almost I forgot how much pain there is in the world and now I'm reminded, but you can't.
Yes.
But you want to. And then to think about, well, I could go get a coffee and I could just get dressed up and take an Instagram photo feels so stupid and trivial. And then there's so much hopelessness in the things that you used to find fulfilling and happy now have no appeal.
Yeah.
And then what do you do?
And it's, but also you have to make this choice of like, do I continue to like live in this or do I try and get a coffee that makes me kind of feel okay? Like I can distinctly remember, it sounds so silly, but like that week and a half I was in Florida, I went and got a latte and I was like, normally this makes me so happy. I'm like, ooh, what kind am I going to get? And I was just like staring at it. Like walking. I have a picture of it on my phone. And I was like, for 2 seconds, I was like, this just made me feel kind of happy. Like I'm excited to try this new little coffee. And for a moment I was like, maybe, that's the kind of stuff in life we take for granted. Like the small moments of like, I'm not saying go get a coffee every day, or do if that makes you happy, but like sometimes that's the little stuff that literally kept me going for the rest of the day. I was like, oh wow, I just felt okay for a second.
Yep. And sometimes the small wins are the ones that carry you through the big battles.
Yeah.
And you can't have big, amazing things happen to you every day. Like you can't have good things happen, amazing news and happy like promotions. That doesn't happen every day.
Yeah.
But you can have those little romanticized happy moments every day.
Yeah.
So I think whenever you stop thinking of those things as too small to make an impact is whenever you let them have the power to improve your life.
And sometimes too, like even on the flip side, like it's stuff like this that happens in life where grief feels so heavy that you're able to make bigger decisions or like things on a whim because you're like, who freaking cares?
You get so much clarity.
Life is short. Like,
so
what are we doing? Let's take the trip. Like, who cares? Like, let's go. Like, there's no point. Or like, heck yeah, we're going to celebrate you making an extra $1,000 this month or whatever it is, or getting your bonus or like meeting that goal. Like, because why the hell not?
Because if nothing is too small to celebrate, you can have so many more things to be happy about in life.
Yes.
Like if you're always looking for like, well, it's not that big of a deal. Like one of my friends just had her 1-year anniversary of her business today. And we were like, why didn't you mention anything? And she's like, why don't think anybody would want to do anything? Like it's been a year. And we were like, if we're not celebrating that, like what are we going to celebrate? Where do we draw the line? Like just birthdays and that's it. The more we have to celebrate, like the world is so full of pain and heartache and sadness. And that's sadly been so much more apparent in our immediate circle. Yeah. But if we can find more things to celebrate, why wouldn't we? Yeah. Like, let's start celebrating half birthdays. Yeah. Like, who cares?
No kidding.
Let's just find more things to celebrate because you just never know when the next bad thing is going to come along. And that sounds so bad and morbid to say.
No, but when you're sitting in grief too, I will say that starts to become more of an anxiety, fear.
Oh my gosh.
Like I keep thinking, something's going to happen. Like I'm so on. And that's when I'm like, okay, I got to get back to Jesus. Please, Lord, come into my heart because I keep thinking something bad's about to happen.
It's just waiting over you.
Yes.
And then you always have these flashbacks to like your hard moments and things that you see that you wish you hadn't seen and just awful news and phone calls and everything. You flash back to that and you're like, what's stopping that from happening again?
Yeah.
But that's the anxiety that you have to give to God.
Yeah.
Like,
and you
what
have
kind of a life is that?
Because things do like, now more than ever, and I don't know if it's just becoming an adult and being more aware and not so like naive
and sheltered.
But things happen all the time, and I just, I think the only thing to do is, just like you have to give it to God, trust that like you can't live life like that, nor is that the way to live it, and just I constantly try to reframe my narrative to like, I'm so thankful I have such an incredible supportive husband that lets me cry myself to sleep because that's what I'm feeling, or lets me like be snippy and knows that my heart isn't that. It's just that I'm bottling up so much anger and frustration and disbelief and like
he can take it.
Denial. And he's like, okay.
Also, can we give Alex some kudos for getting the 2 kids taken care of and getting to Florida?
Guys,
like, can we just take a second?
My husband, oh my gosh, I could cry talking about him.
Cry.
I'm not going to get there, but like he has been such a rock for me. And like our marriage is, which is it's so awful, but like things happen like this and you become so close with someone because they take such good care of you. And he has been there for me. And like sometimes when you're having these big emotions, like we've been together 10 years, like nothing like this has happened. Like we've had hard times, but like I have not been myself. And I just told him last night, I was like, when am I going to stop feeling so sad all the time? And he was just like, I don't know. I can't answer that for you. But he's like, you're doing such a good job. And it's like, I couldn't do this without him.
No.
Like God literally, I feel like made him for me.
Yeah.
And he's like, was so helpful the whole time. Like got both my kids to my in-laws, his parents, got on a flight.
In the Osho.
Literally landed 30 minutes after me. Yeah. Drove an hour and a half, got to Tulsa, made it on a flight 30 minutes after me. And I was like, you don't need to come. Like, everything's fine. And he was like, that's not an option.
Yeah.
Like, I'm coming to take care of you. He's like, because I know you and you're going to take care of everyone else. Right. And like, he just, I don't know. He's just, and everyone told me, which, we were there, we had a lot to do. And like, everyone was like, your husband. I was like, I know.
Yeah. And there's so much pride in that too. Like everyone can be like, oh, the hot husband, he's so great when things are good and everything. It's easy to have a good marriage when life is good. But then whenever you go through all these things and you're not yourself and you don't feel hot, you don't feel fun, you don't feel like helping out around the house.
You feel like a grump. Like I feel like
you're being a bitch to your husband.
Yeah.
You haven't like changed clothes. You have no energy for anything.
Yeah.
And you can't find like a redeeming quality about yourself while you're stuck in like the throes of everything.
Yeah.
And then they can still find like a reason to love you and pick you back up.
Oh,
and on the one hand, that's marriage. It's what your vows are for. But it's not until like the for worse part of for better or for worse gets put into play that you realize like how much of a blessing marriage is, and having a strong marriage.
Yeah.
And then I almost same as you, like you want to just sob thinking about it, because to think about going through anything that I have without that kind of a marriage, I don't know how people do it.
Unbearable.
Yeah.
Like I mean, and that's the thing, like when I start getting really, because as you know, it's like a wave, like, and then grief starts closing in and you're like, oh my gosh, like this is so everything just sucks.
Yeah.
Like this is a bitch.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, I have such adorable kids that I love so much. I was like, my husband is literally my best friend. Like I married in mine, like the perfect man for me. Like he's literally everything to me. I love my home, and like work for me, I love my job. Like I literally love it. And so to get to go do that and like even take a moment to detach for a little bit, it feels so refreshing. And like, yes, work sometimes starts to overwhelm me immensely because I'm like, I'm like doing the best I can.
Yeah.
But like, I actually literally love what I do.
Yeah.
And like, that's a blessing.
Which is rare. Yeah.
And so I'm like, look at how many things, like, look how fortunate and I am. And that for some reason just helps me like clear the bad space that I can get into.
I think whenever you're going through grief, you're like on a tightrope and you can easily fall like one of two ways. Like you could easily fall into like nothing matters actually. Everything sucks. Life is, there's
this
like
isn't
death
fair.
and sadness and unfair and everything all around me. Everyone's suffering. Where is God? This is awful. There's no reason to try. You can so easily topple into that, especially when you feel things so strongly. And you can also fall the other way into being like, life is precious. Life is beautiful. I didn't realize it until now. There's so much to be thankful for. I want to cherish every second of joy that I have, because you never know how much of it you're going to be able to get with the people around you. And it's almost like a conscious choice to choose to fall into that. Yeah. Because at least for me, I was like, I can go either way.
It's much easier to just like sink. It really is, because, and to some point, like I do feel like, and my best friend will say this to me, like she's like, are you feeling? Because she knows me, and I will just like
shut it down,
deflect. Like I will be like, everything's fine. Like Bree's fine. Bree will figure it out. Like she always does. Everything's good. And then, it takes me a while and I just like tumble. And so sometimes she's like, she'll remind me, she'll be like, don't forget to feel. Like you have to feel through this. And sometimes you do. Like I get in that martyr mindset where I'm like, this isn't fair. Like none of my other friends are losing their parents right now. Like, and you start thinking about like, your kids are like, all these milestones they're going to meet. And then you don't, Papa's not going to be there for that. And it's so easy to want to be the martyr. Like it's so easy to be like, woe is me. Like
I'm going through this,
not
no one else
fair.
is going through this.
But then you have this community that's like, I've been through this too. And you're like, holy smokes.
And it's so humbling.
Yes. And you're like, I'm not alone. Like other people are still surviving this. Like I can do this too.
Right.
Like what other choice but to keep going, right? Like,
and it would be a disservice to all the blessings that you have to just give up now.
Yeah.
As awful and as gut-wrenching as it is.
Yeah.
If you were to just let yourself fall into grief and depression and everything else, then you would miss out on the marriage and the kids and the business and the friends and everything else that you have.
Yeah.
Because of this one awful, awful thing.
Yeah.
But still, there's so many good things.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I think life in and of itself is like, it's so fickle and so like we're humans, like we're meant to feel so many things, but I feel like we're conditioned to think that we can only feel happy things.
And you can feel all of it at once.
Yeah.
Like that's the one thing that you advised me about. And then now I can just give your same advice back to you, is that it's okay to have one moment where you're distraught and you feel empty and you feel hollow and you don't care about anything. And then to have the next moment where you're laughing at a stupid TikTok and not feel guilty.
Yes.
If you have those moments of joy in your grief, you have to take them because you don't know when they're going to come. So it's okay. I remember one of the first things that someone had dropped off whenever Austin and I were going through our miscarriage was a box with a bunch of little like word games. And one of them was a bracket game.
Yeah.
And it was this like silliest, most innocuous gift, but it was like your favorite road trip snacks in a bracket. And it was like for 2 days we hadn't done anything but cry and be sad. And then that was the first time that we filled everything out, and we were debating over whether Chex Mix was better than Cheetos or whatever else. And it was so stupid, but it truly like gave us something to laugh about and distract us for the first time. And then there's some guilt with that where you're like, really, we're going to talk about this right now?
Yeah.
Because nothing feels significant in comparison.
Oh, for sure.
But at the same time, are we just going to be sad forever?
Yeah.
You know, and like, are we going to let our marriage become just a shell of what it was?
And like you said, it's just like such a choice to be like, which way do we want to go about this? And I think the hard part is, we think people are assuming we're not taking it seriously.
Oh my gosh.
But when you're hurting that bad, like you just
need
like
to
you
escape
said, like you just sometimes need to be like silly or talk about something stupid or just like goofy and like come back to that feeling of like, I'm going to be okay. Yeah. Like everything's like, I'm going to get through this.
And how awful that we have this external pressure on how we grieve. Yeah. Because I feel like I thought both sides, where on the one hand, I started posting these like day in my life because it gave me something to focus on, because I could like channel my energy into something creative and tangible. But then I had this pressure. I'm like, okay, so are people going to think that I'm not sad enough? Like, is it too soon for me to be okay? Yes. And even though you have moments like your days are like this, but people online only see this because I'm not going to post me crying in the bathroom. And if I feel that way, how is it also possible that I feel guilty if I'm still sad and thinking that people are going to be like, girl, get over it?
No, it's so true. One of my clients that have become really close with, a friend of mine too, she actually also lost her dad, I think a year or two ago. And she sent me something, and it was like, to the girl that's lost her dad. And one of the things that stood out is that exact concept of grief in general. Like, it's like, did I cry enough? Am I crying too much? Like, does everyone else think I'm crying too much? Does everyone think I'm crying? Am I being too secretive? Yeah, like what? And there's, I don't know.
You grieve how you grieve.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I don't think I've ever been judgmental about that towards others as much as I inflicted on myself. But that's one thing that has been completely like reiterated into my own self, is that you can't ever assume how someone feels. And you have no idea what they're going through or what's happening behind closed doors. And if someone loses a parent or a child or a pregnancy or anyone close to them at all, and they need to have some light in their day, like, who are we to judge? And also, if their grief extends for months or years or decades or whatever, it doesn't go away.
Yeah, it doesn't. I think, it's one of the more complex things to explain, think about, happen. But I also, in some weird, twisted way, I'm like, we are meant to experience these types of things, so maybe we can't appreciate life or time or, like, what you think life is going to be like better or, like, become closer with your spouse. Like, I do think God has a purpose for our pain, even though even right now it's like, I will tell him, like, I'm so frustrated, but I think that that's part of the human experience.
Yeah. No, that's exactly how I felt. And I was almost, even when people would talk to me and they're like, you're going to help someone with your story, you can encourage somebody else. And I kept getting so angry, and I was like, why do I have to have a miscarriage to help someone else who had a miscarriage? What is the purpose of like, why do we all have to have this cycle of never ending pain? And unfortunately, there's no answer to that. Like, we live in a broken, sad, awful world, and people are imperfect, and there's like sin and death and brokenness, and there's no explanation short of being like in heaven with God saying, hey, by the way, why'd you make this happen? Yes. And I don't think that we're gonna get that answer very soon, but it's just, there's no good explanation. But I remember being so angry, and that was one of the concrete choices that I had to make. Like, I'm not gonna let myself go there, because if you let yourself just get so mad at things that you can't explain or control, it's never gonna be fair. So what am I gonna fix about that? But if I can be there for someone else, then I'm going to.
Yeah, absolutely. And even just maybe now, the right things, or like sometimes the right actions, or like that person dropping that off, that little silly game. Yeah. I would have never thought to drop something off like that unless you've been through something like that. Through it. Yeah. I was telling you off mic, but like, I had a client bring me this sensory bin for my kids, and she came walking in with it. And I'm like, what do you have? And it's like full of rice and toys. And she's like, listen, I've been through this, and I just thought this would be a great gift and, something for your kids to play with and be distracted. So if you need a second, you can take a second. And I was like,
how thoughtful is that?
That's someone that's been through something like this, because you just get it. If you get it, you get it.
And it's sad. Yeah. It's like clubs that we never want to be a part of.
And that's what I was going to say. Yeah. It's like, you're this weird club that like
nobody wants to join.
No one wants to join. But then you're in it, and you connect with people that are
Of course.
experience the same thing.
And it's, like I said, nobody wants to join, but once you're in, you're in. And it does give you a different perspective. Like I feel so changed that any pregnancies or families that I ever am a part of, I'm going to have such a different reverence for because of what I experienced.
Yep.
And I never will, I think, be thankful for what happened. But I think I've gotten to a point where now I can stop being so angry just because so much good and connection has come from it and so much community and depth in my walk with God and in my marriage. And just the love that I have for life and respect I have for everything to do with starting a family. Yeah. I would have never had that before.
Changes you.
Mm-hmm. If it was as simple as just like, I think we're ready. Yeah. Baby.
Yeah.
Like where's
changes you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's weird how some people experience some, like Hannah and I's grief is so similar, but we've had a completely different experience of like what's happened, you know?
And like where you go from here.
So all of that to say, that's been my life lately. Just, I mean, you know, you're in it too, just like navigating one day at a time. I'm still really excited about things like coming up for SkinWise. I'm really excited about like the age my kiddos are at, where my family's at. Just proud of like my husband making like a, I'm losing my words, career switch.
Yeah.
I didn't know how I want to go about that. Like I'm proud of him and just like things, there are a lot of positives happening. It's just, you know,
I'm proud of you.
Full steam ahead.
I'm proud of you and you're doing amazing.
Keep going.
And
thank you.
You're going to have good days and bad days.
I love you so much.
I'm happy. I love you. I'm happy you chose to be here with us today.
I'm excited to get to talk and,
you
know, not have to post a picture on Instagram and just, I don't know, need a little break. Work's different because work is work for me.
Yeah.
So it's like easy to
You get
post.
into like a zone, like a persona almost.
Yes.
I think sometimes it's hard because I like to live my life on Instagram, like my normal day to day. And then whenever it comes time to talk about sad things, I'll gladly share it on the podcast. And I don't know why it's different to me, but it's almost like I can go and talk about it and get it off my chest and then be done and then leave. And then people listen to it and it's almost like a complete, it's not a conversation.
You're like, I don't even know who that is. I don't know who she is. I don't know.
And then when the conversations do come from it, it's great, but it's not like something that I have to.
I know. There's something very, very raw about like getting on a story and being like, this is what's going on in my life. Yeah. And I just can't get myself to do that.
Because people can interact, I think, in real time. And it's something that I'm not
mentally ready or prepared for.
Right. So I think whenever you have the safety of like us recording it and then later people can listen to it, there's almost some like shelter in there.
I agree.
Do you like how we say we're not going to get into it and then we talk for 32 minutes about it?
I know. I'm like, we're just not going to go there, which and that was the thing too we were talking about is I'm like, maybe a later episode we can talk about other things about it.
Well, there's endless things to talk about.
There's
and I think
so much to it.
Your recovery and your healing process will reveal more and more about yourself and about things that have helped you and haven't helped you. And even now I keep putting it off saying like, oh, I'm going to release a full episode about how I felt and everything. And then every week passes and I'm like, well, there's more. So like how long do I wait before I feel like I have enough knowledge? It just is ever changing. Yeah. And then it feels trivial, like to switch and talk about a different topic. It feels like anyways, you know, but at the same time,
sometimes we need it.
Yeah.
You know,
well,
just holding space for like, I think both scenarios of like needing an in-depth conversation and also needing to just like think about something else.
Exactly.
For a bit.
We've got both. We've got, you know me, I'm always down to cry.
Well, I do have to tell you something. I've been reading again, like a book.
Really?
Yes, because it's
Fiction,
the best
nonfiction?
mental checkout I've had in so long, and I need that, especially before bed, because that's typically when I'm like, oh,
turn your brain off.
Spiral.
Like, oh, I'm going to the dark place again.
And so I'm like, I'm gonna read.
Take us through your reading list. Actually, wait, I have on my outline that we're going to do a report. Are you ready for what a report is?
Okay, I love it.
A report.
I'm nervous.
No, be nervous. But it ties in perfectly because a report is what are you reading, eating, playing, obsessing, recommending, and treating. So report, the R is reading. So tell me what you're reading.
Okay, I am reading The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo.
Yes.
I don't know how I feel about it.
How far into it are you?
I'm almost done.
Oh. Have you gotten to a twist or anything?
I think so.
Okay.
I don't want to say it.
I know.
On here because I don't want to ruin it for y'all. Yeah. So we'll talk about that off mic.
I read it and I did like it, but
did you? Just the whole novel itself. I'm like, meh. But maybe it's because everyone hyped it up.
They did hype it up, yeah.
And so then I was like, I didn't know what to expect.
And you're not really a fiction girl.
I like fiction, but I'm like, I don't know.
If you have limited time, maybe it's better. Like you want to do more self-improvement than fiction.
So that's what I'm reading. Now what am I doing? Eating?
Yes, eating. What is like your favorite snack or anything right now?
Literally no clue. Because everyone has been feeding me, which is a huge blessing. And I'm going to tell you something. I'll tell you what my favorite thing has been. Ooh. Your husband's enchiladas he brought over.
They are so good.
And he's like, this is just a little chipotle crema for the top. Yeah. And I literally was like, oh my. No,
that's like, that's one of the first things that he cooked for me when we started dating. And I was like,
can we get married? I get it. I honestly
him.
Get it. I get it. I was like, I wonder.
I said, I need this forever.
I keep contemplating like putting a little group text me like, so you're going to share that recipe? Or
he will. He
said
he
would to me.
Yeah. It's honestly easy. I helped him with so like good, 3 Hannah. Tiny steps. This is what I like to do is say, oh my gosh, can we make dinner for you? And then text Austin and say, we're making dinner for Brie and Alex. But he brought it up like without me even asking. He's like, should we make dinner for Brie and Alex? I said, funny thing, I already offered.
So it was so good, Hannah.
Well, he does. That's his love language because he doesn't know how to be emotional, but he can cook.
Yeah, so. That's actually Alex too. Very sweet.
I love that.
Like they want to do something. Yeah. You know, Alex was like, I was like having a moment last night. He's like, do you want popcorn or Twizzlers or something? I'm like, no.
Like, I don't want the carbs. Bring me both.
I know. It's fine. No, but it was delicious. In your brownies.
Brie, that's the only thing I can make from scratch. Listen to what happened. I made brownies a month or so ago whenever I was stress baking for myself. Yeah. And I made them from a box. It was the Dolly Parton. Yeah. I hope I don't get sued for defamation. But I made the Dolly Parton brownies, and I don't know if it was me. High likelihood it was me. But it's like the 3 ingredient ones, and they were horrible. They were like, I don't know if you saw my story whenever I pulled them out of the pan and they like held their place. They looked like a Lego brownie.
No, I didn't.
Like I cut the centerpiece out to see if I could salvage even like the innards. It was rock hard. I popped it out. Nothing was even left in the pan. And I even baked it for like 5 minutes less.
Why is Dolly eating these?
I'm like, these are rock hard, girl. These are not edible.
This ain't it.
I don't have a good enough dentist for this. I'm gonna chip a tooth. So then the next night, I was still craving brownies. So I found this recipe online where you have to like scroll through the whole life story for like the recipe. Yeah. But it was from scratch with like the cocoa powder and the baking, whatever.
They were so good.
And I made them with my KitchenAid, which gets used approximately 3 times a year.
Love it.
And I made them in that same little dish. We ate the whole pan. Fork. We don't even cut them out.
No, we didn't cut. Thing.
Good.
I just left a fork in there. And I would just go and take like a little bite and put the fork back in. And Alex was like, I saw that. And I'm like, well.
I saw one of my friends sent me a TikTok that said something about like there's girl math and then there's girl calories. Yes. And it's like if you're having 1 bite at a time, you don't get the full.
No,
you
don't count.
It does not. I had 1 bite.
It was so good.
Thank you. Well, I'm glad to hear what you're eating.
What's my A?
Oh, no, it's a P. What are you playing? Music.
What am I playing?
Are you listening to music?
I've only been really listening, 2 things, at the office and then on the way to work out.
Yes.
And I'm currently on Jack Harlow.
Yeah.
On the way to work out.
Yes.
And it's an interesting little mix.
You mean at like 4 a.m. when you go to work out?
Yeah. Yeah. And I love it. He like hypes me up. There's good little mix. And then at the office, I love lo-fi beats on Spotify.
Yes.
I feel like I'm at like a trendy hotel and I love it. I love working to that. No lyrics.
It helps your brain focus.
Yeah. And I listen to that when I read too.
Because I can't have music like that when I read. If I listen to stuff with lyrics, I'm like singing in my head.
Same.
My brain can't diverge
and I'm
into
like,
2
which
things.
one are we doing?
Yeah.
So
like, I don't know.
Lo-fi beats are it, guys. If you haven't listened to that, I like to listen to it at the house. Yeah.
Love it.
That's what I'm playing.
Obsessing? Are you obsessing over anything?
Am I obsessing over anything? I am kind of obsessing over like to the point where I can't wait to get home.
Yeah.
Over Newly. Have you heard of this?
I've heard of it, but I haven't used it.
Okay. It's a subscription.
Right.
And my issue is I love classic pieces, but lately I want to get these like trendy, fun, colorful pieces, but like I don't want to keep them.
Yeah. This is not an ad, by the way.
This is not an ad. This is not paid. This is just
Brie. If they wanted to.
Brie living life, but Newly if you're there and you want to, fine.
Right.
I just got my first box in. Just looked at the camera and saw that it just got delivered. Ooh. So I'll let you know.
I can't wait.
I do think if people are really weird about like these clothes have been worn, maybe.
I don't
care. But I thrifted and like I wash everything.
If you can get things from a Goodwill in downtown Springfield, I think we can probably
But here's the deal. This is what I get it. Some pieces you want brand new. Respect that. Here's my thing. Y'all, I can promise you the clothes you be trying on at the store have been worn by other people and not washed in between. Yeah. So like anyways,
do with that what you will.
If you want to keep it, you can at a discounted price. It's like you get these jeans and they fit perfection. And then like if you go on vacation or, you know, you want this gorgeous dress for a wedding but don't want to spend $300, you rent it.
I've heard like 4 people talk about Newly recently. I feel like this is the universe, like place marketing.
I'm telling you because I was told about it 2 years ago, told about it again last year. And then 3 clients last week were like, you should really try. And I'm like, that's it.
I'm sold.
I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And I do think it'll help me save money.
The only problem is that I don't plan ahead far enough. Like what happens to me is that I have to leave for a wedding like in a day, and then I'm like, I have to find something right now. So
I'm not like that.
I don't give myself
I know all
time.
my events, and then I'm like,
you're better than me.
No, I'm really not. I just like can't wait
I'm
to
under
find
pressure.
an outfit for
like
something.
that Urban Grounds event, the pink soiree last October.
Oh yeah.
I bought the dress for it like an hour and a half
I do
before.
remember you texting me that.
Yeah. So that's
not
how
me.
I operate.
I had bought mine like a month prior because I was like, I don't own pink.
I know.
Gotta get something.
I know. Which I need to be better about those things. I just don't operate that way. I'm like, what if I'm a different person by then? And I don't like the outfit.
Newly.
That's a good point. I just need to
And
get
if you
like
want
3 to 5 days
yeah,
in advance.
Anyways, that's what I'm obsessing. I can't wait to get
Love.
home. I'm gonna try it all on.
Okay.
My friend's like, you're not gonna save money. You're gonna buy everything, and I'm like, no, I'm not.
You're like, no, I'll send some stuff out.
I'm getting really trendy pieces so that I don't want to buy it because you know me and my classic.
Yeah, your capsule wardrobe.
Yeah,
I get it.
I'm trying to work on that.
That's ideal. I love that for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
What are you recommending? Also, you're recommending Newly. I understand.
Yes.
Anything else?
Moving right along. What am I recommending? I don't know.
That can be both. You're both obsessing and recommending Newly.
Newly. Yeah. We're going to go with that.
Okay. And then treating. Are you treating yourself with anything? Also Newly.
No.
These coffees.
I was just say coffees.
Very
I
funny.
will say treating, like I have something going on that I'm helping treat. So shout out to Rachel at Skinwise for helping me. But my back's been breaking out really bad.
Girl, me too. What's
I don't
up with
know
that?
if it's stress. The only other time
Maybe.
that's happened to me is when I've been pregnant. That ain't a thing. I'm just gonna let everyone know.
Okay.
Like science currently is not is preventing that from happening.
No immaculate conceptions here.
But no, I don't know if it's hormone based, like if something hormonally is going on. And so I started doing treatments with Rachel and she's helped me tremendously.
Well, I have been struggling with the same thing, but I think mine's hormonal because it will be so cyclical with me. And it's the exact same every single month where I'll freak out. I'm like, I'm calling my dermatologist. I'm going on Accutane. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if it's awful for me.
Yeah.
I need something. And then I give it 10 days. My cycle goes back to normal. I'm like, oh, everything's great.
See, I never have struggled with that. And I thought it was like, oh, I've just started working out again. Maybe the bacteria was thrown off from sweating. Like, and you know me and my skin, like,
yes,
I'll do it all. But I'm like, this is not getting better. And it started since I started working out. So I'm like, maybe I need to give it some time. Yeah. But like, I shower right after I work out. I even make them spray the cleanser spray on my back so that I don't. I'm like, what is happening?
And it's so frustrating because I'm like, I'm 25. Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
like,
I'm
still
30.
dealing with this.
I'm like,
it's so frustrating.
What's going on
When
here?
does it end?
And like, I'm disgusted with myself. And then I'm like, hey, Alex, can you put this wipe on me?
Oh my gosh. It's so embarrassing. And I'm also like, okay, Austin doesn't care, but I care.
Oh, for
and
sure.
It's sometimes like I'll get these weird, like painful breakouts like on my lower back.
Yes.
And then you feel them constantly.
Yes.
And I'm like, it turns out I never want to be touched again.
Yeah.
So sorry for you.
Sorry. Yeah. Weird.
I just can never ever be intimate with anyone.
And I'm like a clean freak too. So I'm like, I'm not dirty. Like all my clothes are clean. All my sports bras are clean. I'm literally working out at 6 a.m. I go straight home and shower. Like the most I spend is 10 minutes helping my kids get their breakfast before I
even
go
like
get
driving like this. You're like, I'm not going to lean back.
I'm like, what else is there?
No,
I'm
it's
like
just
burning
life.
off my back
Yeah.
with like acids.
Yeah. But you know what? The only thing that has ever helped me like indefinitely was a tanning bed. And
Don't say it.
And you saw how that ended.
No.
It's cancer.
No.
So
yeah, you ain't doing that.
I know. I'm like, so you're really telling me that I have to choose between skin cancer and acne?
I don't know why. I don't know what's happening.
Summer is good though. Like when summer comes around and you can lay out and like have the sun with SPF and everything.
And don't get me wrong,
like,
I've gotten like a random here or there from like my sports bra
course,
rubbing or like sweating. But
not
like this is
consistent.
like next level.
I hate that. I'm so sorry.
I literally had Rachel like eval me. So
yeah.
Anywho,
give me
that's what I'm treating.
trickle down therapy.
Not treating myself, kind of.
Yeah.
But
well,
I will.
Speaking of treating, we had the same brain driving
love
here because I had come from a consult. I've been doing meetings all day because we're afternoon recording today. And I was driving. I'm like, I don't really have time to stop because
I don't need a treat. I don't need a treat.
It's already 2:05. We're both like, I'm on the way. I'm passing Sonic. I'm like, do I want a Diet Coke? I just need something because every time I eat, I get so tired. And I'm sure there's like an explanation behind that. Like I was going to take a little nap.
Yeah.
And that's why I eat so light during the day and then have like a big dinner because that's appropriate for me to get tired.
Yeah.
But I'm driving. I'm like, I need something. But also it's like, I don't know. I don't want to be running behind.
I know.
And then who should call but Brianna Wise?
Brie Wise.
And she's like, hey, I'm exiting. Do you want something? Should we get a treat? And I was like, I was just thinking that I want a treat. You seriously read my mind. I was like,
I'm not even kidding, Hannah. I'm like on the phone with Alex. I'm like, hey, I gotta go. I gotta call Hannah. Like it's some important, like last minute, like he's like, oh, okay, I'll talk to you after you're done. I'm like, okay, yeah, I've gotta go. And I'm like, hey, Hannah, should we get a treat? And she's like, yes. I'm like, good. I'm already exiting, not on the street I'm supposed to be turning on.
Yes. I said, I need whatever you're getting, please.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Except for I say, Brie, get me whatever you're getting with full sugar because I just don't like non-sugar. I don't know why. I wish I could be like you. I wish I could just deal with like the not sugar version. I can't.
I even was like, I got us an Architect. Love it.
Classic.
And I was going to get mine half sweet. And I was like, no, I'll just do full.
Yeah. That's
to make it like quick. And then I don't have to keep track of what's what.
True.
And now I'm like, I should have got a half sweet. Yeah. I'm going to go home, make myself a shot and pour it in there.
Last night, I always say coffee doesn't affect me late at night. But last night I was reading and I had a coffee at like 8:30. I was up until 2 a.m.
No.
I'm like, why does this happen to me? I don't know. I did it to myself. I always think I'm immune to it. And it might not have been the coffee. It might have just been
insomnia.
Yeah. It could have just been that. The fact that I was on my phone until midnight.
Sometimes I wonder if I should switch to decaf.
No.
Because here's the thing. Here's the thing though.
Okay.
I don't even think I need the caffeine.
It's
like I think I just
it's the atmosphere.
Yes. It's just the vibe.
Yes.
It's like when they put my espresso martini in a plastic cup. I was like, no, I don't want that
send
now.
it back.
Like I just want the warm cup in the morning.
Yep.
I don't think I need.
It's like a comfort almost, or like a ritual.
Yeah.
So I think that there is so much comfort in like, even for me, like picking up the mug of the day.
Love
helps.
it.
It's just a fun little thing I get to do. Like we said, nothing is too small to celebrate.
No.
And to fixate on. So I don't think it's the caffeine really either. Like I don't
could
need
go
my
decaf.
coffee. I need the routine.
Yes.
Well, I didn't list out my report, but I can go off the cuff.
Yeah, let's go.
So my report, I'm reading Crescent City 3.
Don't know what that is.
It's a fantasy book. You would not love it. You would straight up not be having a good time.
Darn it.
There's another series that I've talked about before that everyone has read.
Yeah.
That's A Court of Thorns and Roses.
Yes.
You might get into those.
I feel like
you might get into those. They're fantasy, but they're very easy to understand. They're not like you're reading it and you're like, what is going on? Crescent City, even me loving fantasy, I was reading this and I'm like 200 pages into the first book. I'm like, what are we talking about? I'm losing track of all these like mythical creatures. I can't keep up. It was amazing.
Too much. Better. Okay, yeah. That's good to know.
Yeah. The third book came out yesterday. So Austin went and got it for me. And
I was about to say, are you reading? Like we're committed. Like, are you the type if you open the book, even if you're not loving it, you're going to finish it?
I'm going to finish it.
That's how I am.
Very few books I have not finished, but this one I'm torn because everyone in book talk is so intense to where the new book comes out. Somehow they finish it in like 6 hours. There's already memes and spoilers and TikToks. I'm like,
no.
This book just came out. Yeah. What are you guys doing? So I'm having to like mute that term on all of my social medias because I don't want any spoilers.
So funny.
And then I'm conflicted because I want to finish the book and I'm so excited to find out what happens. But on the other hand, I'm like, I don't want to just devour it and be done. Like I want to enjoy it.
Yeah.
But I can't because there's spoilers
like, I want to
everywhere.
soak in it.
And
like, I know.
Yeah, like sequester myself so that I don't get any spoilers.
Social media quickly, and then we're going back to your report. I realized today, like I've hit an age where I'm either getting old or just not on social media enough because I'm seeing everyone with the same purse.
Which purse is it?
I don't know. It's like this big duffel purse with like all the little.
I need to know.
I don't know. But literally leaving Architect, saw 2 girls carrying it, saw 2 girls in Mexico with it. And I'm like, where's this coming from? Get on social media and it's like the whatever bag. And I'm like, why am I
with
so
like
behind?
A bunch of adjectives. Like, it's always something.
I'm like, why am I so like how?
If it helps, I don't know what bag we're talking about yet.
Okay, it kind of does until I send it to you and you're like, oh, duh.
I probably will have seen it. Well, TikTok Shop is everywhere right now. So everything that people post on TikTok Shop, I think that's where a lot of things are coming from.
I don't even get on that part. I always think it's an ad. I'm like, I don't want to shop right now. I just want to laugh.
Yeah.
Like,
I did do my first order from Temu. Have you heard of Temu?
Yes, I have.
I haven't gotten it yet. It's supposed to be here on the 2nd, which I think is Friday.
Why?
No, I was bamboozled into it. I was like, I'm not getting into Temu. Okay. I've heard everything comes
mini. Like you think you're getting like.
I know. Well, the whole joke is like, it was Wish way back when. And then now everyone will be like, oh, this is the Temu version. If it's like the shitty alternative version. Yeah. So I know it's going to be bad, but I kept getting ads. And then once I thought about it and I asked, I was like, oh, have you ever ordered from Temu? Now I'm getting TikToks of people's hauls. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do some investigating and figure out what's happening. So I went on Temu. I spent $57.
You got
like 30 things. Nothing over like $1.50. And I'm like, we're going to see how this goes. So I will report back to you. I'll do a little haul and show you how things come out. Watch everything be like Polly Pocket
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be like for your like little doll.
It'll be funny though. It'll be worth it for the story.
I can't wait. It'll be
It's
good.
for investigative journalism.
No, I love it.
So we'll see.
It's a write-off.
I don't even know which letter I was on. It's a write-off, yeah. Okay, put my glasses on. Oh yeah, eating toasties from Urban Grounds. I've had so many of the avocado toasties. Eating it, have like the chili oil dripping down my face.
So good.
Looking like a vampire.
Yeah, so
amazing.
Good.
Okay, playing. I've been listening to a lot of 70s and 80s music.
Okay.
And I made a new playlist called Happy Ending Roll the Credits because it's like a collection of songs that just
like
make me feel like
Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Literally, yes.
Yeah.
It's like all the songs that make me feel like the movie's ending and I'm just like walking off into the sunset and just like boosting my mood,
That's
especially with the sun coming out.
Good little dopamine hit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We take it where we can get it. Obsessing. I will say I'm back on Sebastian Stan heavy.
Oh my gosh, did you leave?
I did briefly.
Okay.
Not
I must
leave.
have missed that.
No.
I must have missed that.
I always talked about it. The listeners know. They're like, stop already. But I had gotten to a point where I'm like, I'm healthy again. Okay, I'm good. I'm not rewatching these same movies. I'm not.
I am well.
Yes, I'm doing great. He's down from a tier 1, which is like unhealthy, like the alarms are sounding level, back to a regular tier 2. I don't know what happened. All of a sudden he's back to a tier 1. I'm like, hey, guess what? I'm back.
You know what's actually, I had a dream. I hope Alex isn't listening to this.
They don't listen to
about
our podcast.
Harvey Specter. And I'm like, oh, I love him again.
That's what happens. Weird. Oh my gosh. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, I know him. Like he's
we're
so
literally
real.
We work together.
It's like a vision from another universe, like another lifetime. I'm like, oh my gosh. In a different life, like you worked at Pearson Specter Lit.
I see him in my closet every day because you got me that sweatshirt, and I'm
amazing.
like,
see, imagine if I got you the cutout and you like woke up and he's just standing in your room. Alex would never. He would not
probably
be okay
like
with
burn it.
Yeah, he'd be like, get it out.
He literally is like, you think I'm better looking than him though, right? And I'm
and
like,
you're like, You're like, yeah. Crossing your fingers. No, Austin came home and I was rewatching like this same like TV show that I had been before. And he's like, why are you watching this again? And I was like, no reason. And he's just looking at the screen and it's like paused on like Sebastian Stan. I'm like, I don't know why that happened.
You're like
to be
sweating.
on.
You're like,
it's so weird. But yeah, so I'm back on that. Not good. I was revisiting my TikTok collection where I have 78 videos saved. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a curated art collection.
I just love that I can giggle so much at this because now I get it.
You get it.
It's been a long time.
I'm so sad that you didn't get it for so long.
I know.
It's nice to have you be obsessed.
Yeah, I'm back.
I was looking at Suits memes and I almost sent you some, but I was like, I don't know if she's ready to see these yet, but I have so many saved that I want to send to you.
Please.
It's like Mike and Harvey, and there's this whole online like conspiracy that they're in love, and I was like, I can see it, but also I want to be in love with him.
Yeah. Like
either one,
hold
honestly,
on.
but yeah, pretty much. But I have so many. I have like a folder of memes.
Please send
to you. Okay, where was I? Recommending just getting outside.
Yes.
That's been good for me.
It feels
I'm a new person.
like opening your sunroof.
Yes.
I don't know what
Windows
that
down.
is. Oh,
It's been so nice.
don't leave.
Yeah.
Don't
I
leave
had
sunshine.
my meeting that I had before this, we did on a patio. Glorious.
Love that.
Glorious.
My pickleball team was like, team. It's a bunch
Your
of
league.
like, it's not really a team. They're
Yeah.
like, should we meet? And we all wanted to, but we couldn't make it happen. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I am a baby and it's a little too cold.
See, it's one of those things where it's nice between the hours of like 1:30 and 4:30, maybe even 3:30.
Yeah.
And then once the sun goes down, it's freezing cold. Because I tried to work on my patio the other day and it was in the shade and it was too cold.
Yeah.
My fingers froze and I couldn't do anything.
No.
But it was nice for my mood, I
Love
guess.
the sunshine.
Also recommending doing little self-care things, even if you don't do a whole lot right now, because I got a spray tan. Shout out to Simone with Urban Glow out of Skinwise. And I got my hair done. And it's just, you also got your hair done today.
I did. I got my hair done today. I did a little chop. I was like, I don't know what we're doing this mid-length thing, but get rid of it.
This is really
I was
cute.
like, it needs to be above the shoulder. And she's like, I love you with short hair. And she was like,
yeah. Like the hedge clippers.
and I literally am like, what do you think? She's like, at least 1.5 inches. And I was like,
oh my gosh.
I don't even know if I have that, but we're doing it.
It's so cute.
Getting your hair done, there's nothing like it.
No. And I was having a meltdown last week talking to myself, talking about what should I dye my hair? Should I stay red or go blonde
It
or
looks
whatever?
stellar.
Thank you. Thank you. It's just one of those things like you think that you are in a huge rut and you're ugly and then you get a spray tan and you dye your hair and you're like, oh my gosh.
Who is she?
Yeah. And then it starts to fade and I'm like, oh my gosh.
But you know what?
If we have to pay for confidence right now, we're going to do it because desperate times call for desperate measures.
There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
I literally was texting Simone. I'm like, I need in.
Yep. When can you get me in?
You know?
Which I do love coming to Skinwise every time because I see everyone that I like.
I know. We love you there too.
It's a good, I just hang
She
out
just
for
can't
way too long.
leave. We're like, wait, my turn.
I just don't have her. I'm like, oh, everyone else is still here because they work here. I'm just lingering.
No, you're like, you basically work there.
I just chit chat.
Just come in and
like socialize.
yeah.
Just bring my computer.
Yeah.
That's all I have. I did do a big closet reorganization. You know how in your home sometimes you move in you might not have this issue because you are very organized. But for me, the spaces that I see are organized. The places that I like don't have to look at every day just get neglected, and I just throw things and like shut the door.
Yeah.
So I finally this weekend, there's 3 closets. There's the guest room closet, the spare room that like is just empty right now, the studio.
Yeah.
That closet, and then the coat closet in our laundry room.
Yeah.
They've all just been overflowing like with avalanches of shit. So this weekend I took everything out.
Proud.
All of it. Like there's like a spray paint can, there's old birthday hats, like just things that I don't even know why I have. And I put all of it like on the floor in a laundry room, and then I organized everything.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And surprisingly, it fits way better now that I have it organized.
Doesn't it feel so good?
So good.
That's my word for the year.
Yeah.
Is organize.
I love that.
I just need my life to feel a little more organized.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I like that word. I picked a word from my fantasy books. It's called ataraxia, I think is how you say it.
This is why your vocab's so stellar.
But it means inner peace. It means peace independently of your circumstances.
But it's not like an actual word.
It's a Latin word, I think, or a Greek word maybe. It's not English, but it's from a book. And I was like, I really like that. Actually, I'm going to make it my word of the year. But it literally just means peace independently of your circumstances.
Huge.
So I said, I need more of that.
Yeah.
Okay. I have 1 discussion topic and 2 announcements.
Okay.
I'm going to do the announcements first, only because
I feel like we're at a school somewhere.
I know. We're going to do the pledge first because I feel like people won't listen to the very end. So I'm going to start with these. Okay. First of all, I'm just reminding everyone of a Galentine's party at the Wild Rose on 2/13, which is next Tuesday.
Yeah.
Flash tattoos, links, cupcakes, whatever else. Please come hang out. It'll be super fun.
Cute.
And second, Brie and I are doing a fun little giveaway with our friend Ashley from 4 and 7 Devour for 2 of our listeners, and then a +1 for each of them to have a brunch with us, cooked by Ashley herself.
None other.
Who you've heard us rave about many
the food
times.
I dream about every night.
Oh, yes. It will be on January's ending today.
Yeah,
It'll be on February 18th, which is a Sunday. It'll be in the morning, a beautiful brunch. She's going to cook us a whole spread. You'll hang out with us. You'll bring a friend. It'll be the 6 of us having a wonderful time. So be on the lookout for that post.
Delicious. And I don't even know what she's making.
No, and we're not going to.
I don't even care.
Yeah, it's going to be so fun. So keep an eye out for that post. We'll be throwing it on the gram at some point.
It'll be great.
Okay, next, I need your perspective on this because I feel like I was a bad friend to one of my friends. And it's one of the situations that I feel like everyone was right. It's just difficult.
Yeah.
So I have talked before about how I have a few friends that are pregnant right now that are due within a few weeks of whenever I was supposed to be due, which is sad and hard for me, but also very happy for them. And it's very complicated, which I'm sure you understand.
Yep.
But one of my friends, which some of them haven't announced it, so I'm not going to be very specific, so forgive me for that. But one of my friends is really struggling because she wasn't trying to get pregnant, and she did. And she was in a stage where she just got her fitness back where she wanted to. She just feels like everything is going well. Her baby is potty trained. It's her second baby. And things are just getting back to normal.
Yeah.
And she found out she was pregnant and was very respectful and courteous beyond what she had to be when she told me, and was very sympathetic to my feelings, handled it in the most beautiful, amazing way possible. But obviously it's still a difficult thing for both of us. And I think we're figuring out how to approach that. But she was trying to talk to me about how she's struggling right now with frustration in the face of something that's so beautiful, but also struggling because, you know, your life is just getting back to how you want it. And now things are kind of being thrust into a different direction.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you went through that with Kinson.
I did, yeah.
So I just was honest, and I told her I have a really hard time seeing pregnancy as anything, because she's also been struggling with very severe morning sickness and everything else. And I just said, I have a hard time seeing pregnancy as anything but a blessing right now. And I just don't know how to empathize.
Yeah.
And I am so sorry you're dealing with this. I just don't know what advice to give you.
Yeah.
Because I haven't been through it. And for me, like, I would love to have morning sickness right now.
Right. Yeah.
So we had a pretty honest, like, vulnerable conversation. But I know that since you've been through that, maybe you can give
shed some light.
Yeah, some better advice.
First of all, I think just the fact that you guys were both willing to be like hard honest. Mm-hmm. It's easy to be honest, like easy honest, but like hard honest is hard because you're scared to hurt people's feelings,
right.
But it's still emotions that we carry. And it is difficult for me in the same way that you're like, I haven't lost a parent, but like, I know what grief is like. Like, I've never lost a baby or ever struggled to get pregnant. Right. And that sometimes like breaks my heart for my friends that have.
Right.
because I can't connect in that way. But the one thing I would say is try to remember is in both circumstances, it was an unexpected outcome.
Right.
And so sometimes I think you're so valid, right? In like what you're feeling, like, okay, you almost want to be like, don't feel bad for you because you're getting everything I wish I had. And that makes total sense. And that's a very normal human response. And then still at the same time, you're ecstatic for her.
Yeah.
Because she's getting everything you wish that you were.
And like I said
having.
before, I will never see pregnancy as anything besides a blessing.
Yes.
It's amazing. It's beautiful. And the fact that she can have a second healthy pregnancy is miraculous and fantastic. So it's one of those things that whenever I first was like being honest, I'm like, I'm so justified. And then going back, I'm like, I do feel horrible for what she's experiencing because I can't give her what she needs as far as I can't understand it.
Yeah.
So
I think what you have to remember is, one, she is going to be thrilled. Like there's no other way for like a mother. And I think we're just like made like this, like God makes us this way, but to love our babies.
Yeah.
Which is why it hurts so bad for you too, right?
Yeah.
Like you already are a mom because you got pregnant. And this is what I think is the grief part and the hard part. You are mourning this whole life that you planned the second you saw that go pregnant. You're like, oh my gosh, like this is how we should do the nursery. And if it's a boy or a girl or these names, and like, it's so exciting.
Right.
And you have to understand she's in that same phase of life, except she just got that test and she's like, holy smokes. Everything I've been like, all my expectations of like how my life's going to look just crumbled because now I'm having to course correct my entire life.
Right.
And so in both circumstances, I think it's hard because you're just like, oh my gosh, like I wasn't ready for this. I wasn't expecting this. And it just goes both ways. And I think that I don't want to say it's like harder to be in your shoes, but I would think it's harder to be in yours because yes, an unexpected pregnancy causes a lot of anxiety. And that was something that was really hard for me to explain to my friends that were experiencing loss. I had one in particular that was due a week after me and she didn't know she was miscarrying until almost 13 weeks. So like for the first 13 weeks, we were like, oh my gosh, we're going to be up texting each other all night. This is going to be so great.
Right.
And then she said the hardest part was just like knowing like I'm going to have a baby and she's not.
Yeah.
Like she's not going to be up because and I was just
it's
like
every
crying,
milestone.
you know, like what
and not that it would be easier, but it almost is harder because like you said, every milestone, every bit of morning sickness, every like bump, everything that she experiences is amazing and beautiful. And I truly am so happy for her and happy to meet her new baby and everything. But it's like everything that she goes through is a reminder of what I'm not going through.
Right.
Like everything that if she's sick, I'm not sick.
Yeah.
You know, like I would love to be sick.
Yeah.
Or like love to have these, you know, the fatigue and the cramp, like everything that goes with it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it doesn't take away the fact that she's going through a shitty first trimester.
Yeah.
So
I think there's no one way to feel. And I think that the fact that you were able to be honest with her and be like, I love you. I am thrilled for you. Just right now, this is really hard for me to like see and talk about. And I think that that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, I think you're allowed to feel that way. And I think she's also allowed to be like, holy smokes, this is not what we were expecting.
I know.
And this is stressful.
Yeah.
But that's a different kind of stress because that's stress. Right? Like even me finding about Kinson, I was like, oh my, this is happening to me. I'm a planner. Like I am perfect at planning everything. I make things happen. Like this doesn't happen to someone like me. And sometimes I think that was another way of God to be like, settle down, little girl. Like, let me show you who's really in charge of your life here.
Yeah.
And I always say like grief and babies are the one things that I'm like, holy smokes, we have no control.
Yeah.
Like things literally happen. Like death,
and you just deal with
life. That is like God being like, no, really, I'm in control of everything.
Right.
But I think mine was stress, financially, timing. I was like grieving that I didn't get enough time with Collins.
Yeah.
And so I think hers is probably stress, like, whoa, I just got my body back. Yours is grief. So honestly, that's two totally separate things.
Yeah.
You know, like yours is probably heavier. You know, it's just a whole different circumstance. I mean, that's the same way me and another one of my friends who has a parent that's sick. Like sometimes I will see people like with their dad, like a dad and daughter. And I'm like, I bet you don't even love your dad as much as you should, you know? And it's that same aspect of being like, you're kind of angry at first because you're like, you know, or if someone's like, oh my gosh, my dad's annoying me. I'm like, how dare you?
Yeah.
So it's that same concept of like, you don't even know what you have.
And it brings up this ugly side where it's like, I see anyone who's struggling with pregnancy, even like, I'm sure it's awful to go through all of those things and sickness and all of that. And I have this ugly reaction where it's like, would you rather have a miscarriage?
Yeah.
And it's like, there's a middle ground. Like
Yeah.
she's allowed to go through that and be upset and frustrated and mourn her life before having the second baby and the plans that she thought that she was going to get to carry out, just like I'm allowed to be mad that I'm not experiencing it. Like both things can be true at one time. I think that's where I'm struggling to find the middle ground and not be so hard on myself for feeling that way. But at the same time, like, then I do, like, I wish more than anything that I had good advice for her and to say, like, here's how I would, like, I just don't know what to say. And
no, I don't think you can. And to be totally honest, like, just from a friend standpoint, I don't know that that's in your capacity at the moment because it's going to feel unauthentic to you because right now, I don't know that you can really feel that way. Like you just went through this in a couple years, maybe.
Right.
You know, but I think what you're doing is perfect. Like you can say, I love you so much. I just don't know the right thing to say right now because I'm still hurting so bad, but I hope you know that I love you.
And she has been the most receptive, like kind, genuinely like big person about this. So I can't express how grateful I am to be able to speak freely and not worry that my words will get taken out of context or anything. And I can only imagine her hormones and her emotions and everything. So still being able to juggle all of that with me is so big of her. But maybe you can give some like insight into your experience because I know you had the same thing.
Yeah, no, I did. I actually had a really close friend that they kind of struggled getting pregnant with their first, and I knew they were working on getting pregnant with their second.
Yeah.
And I was just the girl that was like, oh,
look at Alex and
I'm weird. I'm pregnant again.
Yeah.
Like,
oops.
And so I was heartbroken. Like I remember I felt like I was going to throw up to tell her because my heart just broke for her because in all seriousness, I almost wanted to be like, I wish I could just do it for you. Like I didn't know how
like,
this ended up happening to me. Yeah. You know, like and at that time, like I didn't want to be the one that's like, I'm pregnant. Like I wanted her to be telling me that.
Yeah.
And we had started like getting close with them. And I remember texting and I was like, I'm really struggling to tell you this because my heart breaks for you because I know this is what you want, you know? And I was like, but I'm pregnant. And I was like, and it was unplanned, which I know is almost more heartbreaking because I know you're having to track everything you do and plan and like, you know, that becomes a whole nother thing with intimacy, sex, all of it. Like how frustrating and hard. And then this girl that you've kind of become friends with is like, oh, I'm having my second like that, easy, you know?
Right.
And so, and she was so sweet. Like she was just like, Bree, that is so nice of you to even be considering me. Like, I'm so happy for you. And, you know, I chose with her not to be like, oh my gosh, I'm terrified. This isn't really what I want right now. And again, mother instincts kick in and you don't care. You're like, I will protect that baby at all costs. And now with life, I'm like, oh, God had my kids so close together so my dad could meet both of them. Like that was just how my life was meant to be. And if I would have been looking at a second, it would have been now. And I probably wouldn't be doing that.
Right.
You know?
And how close your girls can be and everything. It's so, like you can't see your life happening either way.
And so sometimes, I mean, definitely pick the conversations you have with them versus like your spouse or someone else because you don't want to hurt their feelings. And sometimes that can happen without you realizing it because you're just hurting, you know?
And whenever I found out I was pregnant, then I immediately thought of my friends that are struggling. And I had that same like guilt almost, like what's going to happen. And of course my outcome was not how I expected it to be, but it's just an impossible situation because it's in no one's control and it's truly just up to God and biology. So there's nothing that can make it who gets pregnant easily and who doesn't and who struggles and all of these things. So I think it's so difficult to navigate because the last thing I want now is to be the person that hurts someone else going through this.
Yeah, absolutely.
But at the same time,
you're still hurting.
Yeah. It's like, what can you,
you're not healed
what can you do?
from
And
it.
everyone's hard is hard.
Yeah.
So whether it's morning sickness or loss or anything, everyone's struggle is their struggle right now. So I don't know. It just, I feel bad that I wasn't able to give a very good perspective. And I'm glad that you were able to.
I hope I did. Sometimes it's hard. And I think, you know, all I can believe is that like there's timing, like God literally places timing for a reason. I was just talking to one of my best friends about this and I was like, listen, like how kind of cool that like our weddings and like this season of our life was so separate so that we could celebrate each other so hard. And like same with kids, like maybe you weren't meant to be pregnant with all of your friends because you get your own moment to get to do all of that. you know, and maybe I lost my dad different than all my other friends so that I could have people like Simone be there for me. Yeah. And maybe someday I'm going to be able to be there for someone else and we're not all totally going through the exact same experience.
So you can turn around and help the next person up.
And that is hard. Like, it's just like you said, it's like, well, why do I have to go through it?
I know.
Just to be there for someone else. But sometimes, you know, maybe like getting married, like all of that would look so different if you were like literally sharing it with every single other person.
Yeah. You're so right.
And so sometimes it's like maybe God created that divine time of when this is going to happen for you for a reason, or who you're going to end up parenting with, or who you're going to raise your kids with, because they have similar ages will be different. And, you know.
And isn't it crazy to think about, like, down the road, one day when all of our kids are like in high school and everything is just the way that it plays out, and we'll look back and be like, I can't imagine this being any other way.
Yes.
But right now we're still in that stage where all of the foundations to our lives are being laid. Like husbands changing jobs and buying businesses and starting new things and kids being born and growing up, and all of this is like the foundation for what's going to be the rest of our lives, even though this is very much our lives right now.
Yeah.
It's very strange.
So you just don't know. And sometimes I'm like, all I have is like, I have to throw my trust into that.
Yeah.
And know that for some reason things line up. Like, you got married young so that we could be close. Because if you weren't married yet, would we hang out?
Yeah.
Honestly, who knows? Like, we would have, we don't know if we'd have common ground or live in the same neighborhood.
Yeah, I know.
You know? So
which
like,
would be so sad.
All those things, sometimes I have to be like, there's a reason this is all happening at the time it happens, even if it feels unfair to me right now.
Yeah. Has anyone ever told you that you're pretty wise?
Wise?
Yeah.
I'm just wiser by the day.
Wiser by the day.
That's why I married one.
Wise. No, that was very insightful. But that's exactly what I needed. I don't have the right words, and you did.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I'm glad I could help. I mean,
man, we're getting into it today.
I know.
I'm happy to
good
have you
luck,
back.
Everyone, tomorrow listening.
Yeah. They're like, oh, it's going to be such a nice, girly episode. And then everyone's sobbing on the way to work.
They're like, why?
Yeah, we'll come back with another one.
We will. We'll lighten it up, too.
Yeah.
And, you know.
Either way, I'm
get
happy
back to our old ways. Yeah. I am too. This has been so fun.
Cheers to your return. Love you so much.
Love you, friend.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
We love you.
Bye. Bye.